It's a beautiful Thursday afternoon. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV. My name is Marco Kwakozi. Now, this is a program that comes to you every Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at exactly 12 hours. We start with the midday news, of course, and then we get into the next segment, which is the Emerging Stories segment, which is about just about now. But before we get into the details of the Emerging Stories segment, let's remind you that you are catching us on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Top Star. Those are channels you are catching us on. But also remember that you can catch us live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV, and not also forgetting the YouTube channel, which is Camnet TV as well. So those are the platforms you catch us on. And if you have any questions, contributions to make on this particular program, you can go to our Facebook page, leave your comments there. We'll be more than happy to see what you think about what we are looking at this beautiful afternoon. And you can also later on call us on the numbers that will be provided so that we get interactive and discuss issues affecting you and me in our communities, and of course the governance of this beautiful country. Now, let's quickly get into the next segment. But before we do that, how about a short break? We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much. This is the Emerging Stories segment, where we give you stories of what is currently happening around us. Various reporters around the country and are giving us heads up on what they are working on. Now, these are the stories that we expect to see in our menus at exactly 19:30. We start with a story from the UPND, and it says the United Party for National Development in Mambwe District yesterday witnessed a boost in its membership when more than 500 new members from different wards joined the party, citing community development fund and free education policy as motivating factors. Now, while UPND members sang and danced to celebrate the boost in their membership, the new members coming from different backgrounds expressed their happiness and commitment to support UPND because its policies, such as CDF, has changed the face of the community, while they termed free education as a household policy. Now, Ms. Joyce Piri, a former Patriotic Front member, told the media that the CDF made her and others changed their allegiance to UPND because the first time their voices matter as they together discuss which projects to undertake to make their constituency a better place to live.
We are excited to receive 1,350 defectors who came to join us.
Ndisokondwa kuti talandira alendo ameneyo abwera pa khomo pathu kaya nyumba ya UPND okwanira 1,350 takulandirani khala nomasuka ni nyumba ya UPND.
We are excited because you received all those developmental projects funded by CDF. President Akainde has made it clear to everyone that each corner of this country will receive equal amount of money, and as it has already been seen here, In Mambwe, you have received 28.3 million for the constituency only. This money will be distributed by yourselves. In the past, the money used to be worked out in Lusaka, but in the new Dawn government, the system is very clear that the money will be brought here, and you, the people of Mambwe, will sit down to tell us how you want to use that money. We are more than pleased that you have come in big numbers like this. What we want to do is to assure you that when the parliament sits, they have shown indications that the money will be increased from 28.3 million to somewhere around 57 million per constituency.
Wow. Thus, the United Party for National Development UPND Secretary General Batuke Imenda welcoming new members in Mambwe district, of course, who had defected to the ruling party. Now, this is one of the stories that you expect to see tonight in our menus, so do make sure that you tune in to channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Topstar, so that you don't miss out on what is making news on this beautiful day. Now, moving on, Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Collins Nzovu, says government is satisfied with the key outcomes of the inaugural Africa Climate Summit held in Nairobi, Kenya from the 4th to the 6th of September 2023. Now, the summit, which was held under the theme Green Growth and Climate Finance for Africa and the World, was aimed at raising Africa's voice and ensure that it integrates into existing international forums such as the United Nations General Assembly, G7, G20 process, and the COP28, among others. Now, in his remarks during the declaration ceremony, Kenyan President William Ruto, who is also coordinator of the Committee of African Heads of State of Government and Climate Change, said the Nairobi Declaration would form the basis for Africa's negotiating position at the COP28. Now, the Nairobi Declaration capped the three-day summit, which was dominated by discussions of how to mobilize financing to adapt to increasing negative effects of climate change and the continent, which just contributes less than 4% to global emissions.
Very pleased that we attended it, because we believe that what was going to be discussed, and indeed what has been discussed, are critical issues to ensure that we fight the triple climate crisis. We came here to set the stage for COP28. Remember also that the chairperson of this summit, President Dr. William Ruto, is also the host president. It's an organ of presidents on climate change. His vision is to ensure that Africa's demands, those who polluted more, are met. We discussed issues of loss and damage. Remember, coming from COP27, we convinced the world, we demanded and convinced the world that the issue of loss and damage must be an issue which must be looked at, that those who polluted more and polluted then to cause the climate change must pay for the various sources of damages which are coming out as a result of extreme events. This was achieved at COP27 in Egypt. But what remains still is operationalization. First of all, completion of the framework, utilization of the fund itself. We want to speak with one voice, a united voice, so that COP28 this fund is created. That's number one. Number two, obviously we demanded that those who are still polluted increase their ambition on mitigation, and they quickly ensure that they introduce the necessary mechanisms to reduce the emissions.
Moving on, former First Lady Esther Lungu has taken time to thank the PF leadership and supporters for the solidarity they offered when she was detained at Ibex Hill Police Station. Now, Ms. Lungu was arrested and charged with 3 counts of theft of motor vehicle. She was arrested alongside 4 others, namely James Piri, 49, Lee Chisulo, 31, Kapambwe Lungu, 42, and Catherine Banda, 30. Now, Ms. Lungu, along with the 4 other suspects, have also been charged with theft of title of a property.
For the spirit of love, oneness, resilience, commitment, support, and everything that you have shown to me, my husband, my children, the entire family, and indeed Zambia as a whole. I know that many people out there have been praying, and people have been praying and praying for years from the time we left office. And Father God is listening. Your prayers are not in vain. May we continue living united, loving one another, so that peace may prevail forever and ever. May we not do this just for once, but may we live to support one another. Thank you to the PF, thank you to the members of our parliament who have come to rescue me from the gallows. I'm so grateful to all of you that have been there. You spent the whole day toiling, you toiled, you labored to have me released. It's not easy. This spirit should continue. Amen. The greatest reward will come from God for all that you are doing. Amen. Thank you so much. God bless you.
That's the former First Lady there, Esther Lungu, appreciating the support she received from members of the Patriotic Front who, she said, toiled to see her walk away from the police station at Ibex. So that's another story also you can expect to see at 19:30 as we bring the details of what happened surrounding that particular story. Moving on, government through the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, has drafted a national gaming and lottery policy and the layman's bill towards the establishment of National Gaming and Lotteries Board to respond to the growing trends and threats affecting the casino and gaming industry at large. Speaking when he graced the casino operators stakeholders meeting at Lusaka's government complex, Minister of Tourism Rodney Sikumba says the policy and law will bring Zambian gaming and lotteries landscape in conformity with the rest of the world in restricting and regulating the gaming industry activities and keep up with emerging issues. Now, he says, in order to reduce proliferation and manage the gaming industry in the long run, government regulatory and legislative measures will, among others, ensure that gambling is undertaken in the responsible manner to avoid restricted to permitted locations. Only opening hours must be restricted and clearly spelled out age limit of the players.
Myths that are surrounding the Ministry of Tourism, all those myths that are surrounding government as to how we operate issues pertaining to casinos need to be addressed. We are looking at having to create the Gaming Board of Zambia. Government can only give you policy direction. You yourselves in here should be able to come back to government and propose certain incentives, certain operational guidelines, certain ideas that will be able to generate more revenues for this particular country in terms of taxes, that will generate more job opportunities for boys and girls out there by making it become more profitable.
Primarily, we know that casinos are registered for gaming and betting, and if they are undertaking any financial services, our expectation is that there is a competent authority to which they are supposed to get a license for that operation.
We, immigration, walking into casinos at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, and if they walk into one casino, every other casino is empty because of the fear of immigration. Even people with permits run because immigration tends to lock them up in Woodland Stadium. For what? God knows.
Let's move on. Another story that we expect to see in the news this evening says the Zambia Bureau of Standards, ZABS, has given manufacturers who use the ZABS certification mark illegally a 90 days amnesty in which to take corrective action. Now, ZABS Executive Director Nathan Singambwa says this is a unique opportunity for resolution, transparency, and rebuilding trust with consumers and the market at large. Now, Mr. Singumbwa says, has urged the manufacturers involved in the illegal vice to consider either normalizing their business process or immediately discontinue any use of quality marks that do not comply with the prescribed guidelines.
Initial findings, a total of 13 companies were found to be using the ZABS quality mark illegally, where from the surveillance conducted in part of Lusaka, 13 companies have been found to be using the mark illegally. The surveillance will continue and extend to other parts of the country. To address the issue of the illegal use of the ZABS certification mark, the Bureau is offering a grace period of 90 days, during which we encourage all manufacturers involved in the misuse of the quality marks to come forward and take corrective action voluntarily. This is a unique opportunity for resolution, transparency, and rebuilding trust with consumers and the market at large. We urge the manufacturers involved to consider either normalizing their business processes or immediately discontinue any use of quality marks that do not comply with the prescribed guidelines. We assure you that during this grace period, we will work with you to resolve any issues identified, and your cooperation will be met with understanding and support. Our primary goal is to ensure that the highest standards of quality in our local products and ensure consumer health and protection in our industry. It is, however, crucial to note that failure to take corrective action during this grace period may result in more severe consequences, including public disclosure of non-compliance, legal action, and potential damages to your brand's reputation. We urge you to come forward and demonstrate your commitment to ethical business practices and consumer safety. If you need any guidance or have questions related to this program, do not hesitate to reach out to us.
Now, as President Hakainde Hichilema addresses Parliament on Friday, the 8th of September 2023, the Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, expects the head of state to provide clarity and direction on several pressing issues affecting the nation. Now, CTPD head of research Ibrahim Kamara expects the president to talk about how he intends to reduce the cost of living. He says this includes measures to mitigate the increasing prices of essential commodities, notably mealie meal, which is a staple food for many Zambians.
The Center for Trade Policy and Development has a number of expectations from the presidential address. The agricultural sector, we have seen that continues to face a number of challenges. Output continues to be low, and we as a nation rely heavily on rainfall. There is need for measures such as the building of irrigation dams, which is going to benefit the agricultural sector. We have seen this challenge also reflected in the production of maize, and which has also increased the cost of mealie meal. These are things that need to be addressed, and we believe that the president is going to talk about this. This is also strongly tied to the cost of living, which has also been rising in the nation. So we also expect that the president will talk about that. The mining sector has also faced a number of challenges. Production in the first half of the year has been low in the mining sector. We have seen that there has been dormant production within the sector, and we have seen that 2 mines have not been fully functioning. This is the KCM and also Mopani. So we expect that the president is going to address the nation and talk about what some of the challenges have been and what some of the measures have been put in place. Recently we did see that the challenges which were surrounding KCM were tabled, and consequently we did see the Ministry of Mines give an update on that. So hopefully production is now going to increase in the mining sector. CDF is another area that we would want the president, or expect the president, to touch on. There has been a great anticipation in how the CDF is going to perform and bring the lives of people to a better place.
So those are some of the stories that you expect to see today at 19:30 in the menus at 19:30, of course. Remember that you can catch that particular bulletin on this very channel, which is channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Topstar. You can also catch us live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV. Go to that particular page, like it and share it, and then you can follow our live news bulletin on that particular page, and also on our YouTube channel, which is Camnet TV as well. So you can follow us on those particular platforms and get to see what we have for you in our menus at exactly 19:30. So don't miss out on that one. These stories will be part of those stories that will make that particular bulletin at 19:30. So moving on, let's now get into another segment. Now this segment is called the Forgotten Stories segment, where we refresh your memories, take you way back into time, just to remind you of what used to happen a few years ago on this particular day. But before we get into the details of that particular segment, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be getting into the next segment.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impassioned news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Thank you very much. Welcome now to what we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Now, on this segment, we give you stories that happened way back, just to remind you of where we are coming from and refresh your memories. We've picked quite a number of stories that we are going to be giving you, so that we just refresh your memories and take you back to where we have come from, so that maybe you can just refresh our memories. So let's have a look at what we have for you today in our Forgotten Stories segment.
We are concerned with reports from various stakeholders and members of the public regarding the quality of hand sanitizers that is being placed for use at entrances of shopping malls, as well as business outlets in Ndola on the Copper Belt. In this regard, Zamra inspectors undertook surveillance activities in collaboration with public health inspectors from the Ndola City Council in order to assess labeling requirements and the quality of hand sanitizers, so as to ensure conformity to guidelines that were issued by the authority. And so samples of hand sanitizers have since been collected from selected outlets for quality analysis and assessment at the laboratory. So a total number of 10 business outlets were inspected, and these included Hungry Lion, Nando's, Debonair's Pizza, Pick and Pay, Pet Stores, as well as Lion Dragon, ShopRite, and Sweet Bite, among many others. And so, as the authority, we would like to urge all manufacturers, importers, as well as distributors to ensure that the product, which is hand sanitizer, conforms to recommended formulations as stipulated in the authority's guidelines before placement on the market. And so these guidelines can be accessed on our website.
While the government of the Republic of Zambia keeps praising itself for taking development to all parts of the country, the alleged recipients of that development claim not to see it. Sub-Chief Kundamfumo of the Osho-speaking people in Chembe district of Luapula province says this area has not recorded any meaningful development and challenges those in government to prove him wrong.
Development, I haven't seen any development in Majidom as from 2014 up to now. The only development that we are trying to bring is the police post. These other, maybe if I'm lying, let them just convince me on the other. You would have seen it. The only development that is there is electricity, which is mandatory to the government. The erection of electricity, but the actual development which we are looking here in Chembe district in particular is to create more health posts and many police posts. That is the thing that we are looking for. Then we have the stocks of where to stock the bags of meal depot. As you have seen, people are just now putting maize on the floor without the cover, protection. So these are the things that the council and the member of parliament should look into. They should have people where they should be stocking food.
Again, many other times we are told the government has released so much and so in terms of youth empowerment funds, but Chief Kundamfumu says such funds never reach the youths of Chembe district as they continue to drink due to non-availability of opportunities.
I haven't seen any youth empowerment in Chembe district and in Kundamfumu in particular. It's only be heard in the news and in the papers. Because it's us, traditional leaders, who are supposed to be knowing those young people who are supposed to benefit from youth empowerment. Maybe the area member of parliament can give me a list of youth empowerment who have benefited from the same 30,000 kwacha or 30 million the president has given to the youth. But here, we don't have any empowerment scheme. The Minister of Health has to look into this issue. I recall some months ago or last month, money was released each constituency, but they have never come to ask us the problems and the challenges we are facing our chiefdom so that we can highlight all these issues pertaining to health posts and other. The councillor and the area MOP is not in touch with traditional leaders so that we can liaise with him so that this is what we want. Hence we decided now to go on here so that maybe others can help him how we should improve his constituency where he was elected by local people.
The traditional leader has called for equitable distribution of wealth across the country if government efforts are to be appreciated by many. Kalan Muchima reporting.
Works and Supply Minister Silva Chalikosa has welcomed the new Evaluation Surveyors Board members, who she says have an enormous task ahead of them. The board members, which consist of 5 people from various institutions, including the Survey Institute, Law Association of Zambia, the local authority, and some from her ministry. This was after Cabinet approved the appointments on the 10th of August 2020. Addressing the board Monday morning, the minister said the board is a significant milestone in the history of Zambia, adding that tremendous achievement has been made in the economy, especially in the areas of infrastructure development. The minister has urged the board members to ensure that they maintain high levels of professionalism when delivering valuation services.
Your board should be more responsive to the ever-increasing demand of property valuation in the country, hence the need to have more registered valuation surveyors. And Chairperson, I am certain that under your leadership, there will be significant increase in the number of registered valuers in the country to respond to these demands in a more effective and efficient manner. Currently, the low number of registered valuation surveyors is a source of concern to government. Considering that the number of valuation surveyor graduates in our country since independence is 800. From the 800 valuers, only 100 are registered valuation surveyors, with only 9 females. This number is grossly insufficient for the current valuation. Commence this tour of duty when there are a number of challenges in the practice, and you should address among these the lack of standardization in the practice by different valuation surveyors in the country. In this regard, the board will be expected to ensure that the review, repeal, and replacement of the Valuation Surveyors Act of 1979 Act is completed. It is a well-known fact that the Act does not respond to the modern and rapid changes in the practice. It is therefore expected that the board will expeditiously ensure the review process is done in the consultative manner and that the bill is presented before Parliament.
And board chairperson Ephraim Mushimfwa says the board is committed to serving government and the Zambian people in general.
As a board, we are excited to take office and committed to serve government and the Zambian people on matters relating to the valuation of land and property. We recognize the challenges highlighted by you, Honorable Minister, especially amidst the COVID-19 pandemic challenges, but we promise that we are equal to the task and that we'll be able to implement the various responsibilities that have been given on this board.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A wide margin remains between women in rural and urban areas in terms of having access to economic activities. While women in urban areas have a wide range to choose from the salon business to selling in markets, women in rural areas have limited access to economic activities. Many of them in rural areas depend on farming in order to earn a living. In extreme cases, many of these women are discouraged from conducting any economic activities due to traditional beliefs which state that a woman's place is their home. Limited access to economic activities for women in rural and peri-urban areas, however, has worried the Zambia National Traditional Councillors Association, which has employed the new government to ensure that these women are adequately empowered. Association Programs Manager Mr. Gordon Muchemwa was speaking to Camnet News.
When you look at the rural women, they are doing a lot in terms of contributing to food security. But what benefit is it to them? Because they don't own the land, they don't even get the FISIP. So my appeal is for the government to increase the number of women accessing to resources like FISIP, for example. Let more women be put on the FISP program. Then let women access and own land. And let women also be able to access financing from banks and other lending institutions. The government promotes access to clean energy, especially for the rural women. Let there be access to electricity, access to solar power. For the women to access this solar power, they need to have access to financing so that they are able to do some businesses. Mr.
Muchemwa has further called on chiefs and other traditional leaders to ensure that they sensitize their subjects to uphold gender equality.
Women's rights is an important issue that the government needs to put in place. I'm appealing for deliberate policies to ensure that equality is actualized. Let's not just talk about gender equality on paper. Let's see gender equality being actualized.
By 2030, Zambia hopes to have achieved gender equality. However, a lot of disparities exist, especially in traditional setups, posing as a threat to this goal. Assessing all sectors of society to close all existing gaps is imperative if gender equality is to be attained by 2030. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. Zambians have been eagerly awaiting announcement of the cabinet by the head of state, which seems to have taken a long time. President Hakainde Hichilema Tuesday appointed 17 cabinet ministers and 1 State House private secretary. This brings the total number of ministers announced to 18, including Minister of Finance, Stumbeko Msokotwane. The cabinet has seen the return of old faces, such as Sylvia Masebo and Felix Mutati, as Minister of Health and Technology and Science, respectively, both who served under the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD. The cabinet has also welcomed new entrants, such as Mulambo Haimbe, who is also Lusaka Central Member of Parliament, as Minister of Justice.
After the oath of office, I'll move to the oath of allegiance. Please repeat after me. I Ambrose Luigi Lufuma,
Jacob Mwimbu,
Stanley Kafuo,
Peter Chibwekapala,
Mike Elton Mposha,
Doreen Sefuke Mwamba,
Brenda Tambatamba,
Sheo Shatoli Mulihata,
Elisha Matambo, Cornelius Mwini,
Lareja Lwandi Mchuma,
Frank Museva Tayali,
Mulambo aimbe.
President Hakainde Hichilema, speaking during the swearing-in ceremony, has highlighted that upholding promises made to the Zambian people remains paramount to the government.
I said, give me another. He said, I think the debate is over. I understand you. I understand what you've been saying. So you, the ministers, cabinet, and provincial ministers need to understand this issue that individual was asking me. And you should be able to explain to people, and that's why you're occupying public office, to make sure our people have food, to make sure that our children go to school. And that means using resources, scarce resources, properly.
Meanwhile, Governance Elections Advocacy Research Services GEAR's Executive Director McDonald Chipenzi says the cabinet is reflective of all tribes.
It also looks very, very good because you have almost everyone in government. You have Mutachi from the north, you have Mirupi from the west, you have Tambatamba from northwest, and Rufuma, Mchima from northwest. You have the southern part, Jack Mwimbu, Cornelius Mwekwa, and others, Douglas Yagarima, and then you have Lusaka province, you have Muriata, Masevo, you have Kakubon, the central province, and so on and so forth. So
more appointments are expected in the coming days. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
There's a saying that was highly proclaimed by former United Party for National Development UPND Vice President Dr. Canisius Banda in one of the local languages that Gule akachoka mbwalo, salo wanso, meaning when a masquerade is out of the stage, it never returns. And in a political context, he meant that when a political party is voted out of government, it never returns. By then, he referred to the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD, after it was booted out of power by the Patriotic Front, PF. But the former ruling party, the PF, wants to defy that by undergoing the rebranding process to seek re-election in the year 2026. Governance experts believe the PF lost the polls on account of failed social and economic policies, political intolerance, violence, infiltration of political cadres, and corruption, among others. So far, the PF Secretary General Davis Miller, Party leader Edgar Lungu, and National Chairman Samuel Mukupa have offered to leave their positions. Beyond the general election, we caught up with Professor Nkanduluwo, who was the presidential running mate, who believes the PF will remain a formidable political party.
If you recall, at one point, PF had very few numbers in parliament prior to 2011, but they were so vibrant and they actually performed that role of checks and balances. But with the numbers that we have now, of 59, I'm very sure that we'll do even better than we had done before. The other important thing is that we need to learn lessons from the past and ensure that as a party we keep together, because doing checks and balances doesn't only happen in parliament, it can also happen outside parliament.
She has challenged citizens to amplify their voices in demanding the implementation of campaign pledges made by the UPND.
So those of us who are outside parliament should on a daily basis do what Rafael Nakachinda is saying. Look at the country with binoculars and be able to ask questions and say, there was this promise. When will it happen, if it will happen at all? So all of us have to rise to the occasion. But I'd like to say that these checks and balances should not only be left to politicians. That is what the problem in Zambia is. People think that the only people who can deliver are the politicians. All of us, including you, especially you journalists, should be the ones that perform a professional role of actually keeping checks and balances. So we are a formidable team, and I think we can do a lot.
But one thing is for sure, winning back the confidence of the people will not be an easy undertaking for the PF. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Thank you very much. That is our Forgotten Stories segment, and those are the stories that we felt that we should remind you of. Actually, this is the day actually that President Hakainde Hichilema did swear in part of his cabinet, those that he had appointed. Now, we just thought that segment would remind you of where we are coming from and what used to happen on this day in 2020 and 2021. So that is a segment that we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Let's move on. We get into the next segment. This particular segment, we'll be looking at some of what the happenings in the world of sports. But before we do that, let's quickly take a break.
Hey, join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to
Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Now let's have a look at some of the stories that are making the headlines in the world of sports. Yesterday, Green Buffaloes women's football team unfortunately went down to Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa by 3-1. Buffaloes are starting that game on a very, very positive note, but unfortunately they could not continue with the pressure that they were piling on Swallows, and in the end they conceded 3 goals and only managed to score 1. So Green Buffaloes went down 3-1 in South Africa at the Princess Magogo Stadium. Very, very unfortunate for Green Buffaloes, but we do encourage the Reddies as they come back. They can do even much better next time. We do believe in them, and we hope that the Army-sponsored side is going to come back and go back to the drawing board and make sure that they rectify on their mistakes and win the tournament again, because they are actually the defending champions of that particular competition, but unfortunately they couldn't defend it. So moving on, if it were up to me to come up with the lineup that would take on Comoros this weekend for the Chipolopolo boys, I would start Tostan Sawata. Yes, Tostan, not Lawrence. I would start Tostan Sawata in goal. Defense, I would have Roderick Kabwe on the left. On the right, Benedict Chepeshi. And then Stopeda Sunzu and Frankie Musonda pairing as centre backs. And then on the midfield, I would have Emmanuel Banda, Benson Sakala, and Cleans Kangwa. Up front, I would have Patson Daka, Lamek Banda, and of course Kretas Chota Chama, Triple C. That would be my lineup if I had it my way to come up with the team that would play Comoros in the last game of the qualifiers in Moroni. Now, speaking of which, the Zambia national football team has intensified its training ahead of the Group H African Cup of Nations qualifier against Comoros at the Stade Onisport de Marauzini in Moroni. Now, Zambia leads Group H and has already qualified to the tournament. China-based defender Stopila Nsunzu completed the 27-man squad summoned by coach Avram Grant and walked straight into evening session at Heroes National Stadium. And with the match at the Malozini Stadium in Moroni to be played at 21 hours on Saturday, the Chipolopolo have been having evening sessions to be in sync with the floodlight atmosphere. Now, the team regrouped on Monday and is expected to take a 2-hour 30-minute flight to Comoros on Friday morning aboard the chartered flight, and we will have an evening session in Moroni at the match venue. Now, already qualified Zambia tops Group H on 12 points, with Ivory Coast already qualified as hosts, also sitting on 10 points. Comoros lies third with 6 points, while Lesotho tail enders with only 1 point. Let's have a look at the preparations.
Amen. Good training. Down. Down. Turn. Stop. Opposite. Down. Turn. Turn. Stop.
So those are the preparations for this weekend's encounter as Zambia takes on Comoros in that AFCON qualifier. Zambia has already qualified, and they are topping the group with 12 points, followed by Ivory Coast, who also have already qualified, considering the fact that they are the hosts of this particular tournament. So on that sporting note, we come to the end of today's lunchtime cafe on Camnet TV. Thank you very much for having taken time to join us on this particular program. Don't forget to join us again on Monday as we come back with another exciting program. On behalf of the entire production team, have a blessed afternoon.